go. Here we go. Recording in progress. So don't say fuck or bugger.
Is this how this interview is going to be going, Mr. Willetts? So,
it is, yeah.
As you've already recognised, ladies and gentlemen, it's Ricky of Moshville Times here once again, and tonight I'm delighted to welcome one of the legends of the death metal scene, Mr. Karl Willetts. So, first of all, it's good to see you. How are you? And I say you've been coping better with IT these days.
Absolutely, yeah. It's all going well. It's all very busy at the moment. Obviously, release of the new album is imminent, so it is a continual media circus, which is great. I enjoy this. My favourite thing to do is to talk about me and stuff I have done. So there we go. And I'm going to reiterate what I said to you before you started recording, which is I'd like to take the opportunity to say thank you, Ricky, very much for your continued and ongoing support that you have provided to the musical things that I have been a part of. So it is much appreciated and doesn't go unnoticed. And thank you very much.
Well, just two things on that. One, you've made me blush. And two, if you keep on writing good music, then I'll keep on promoting it. So that's only
okay. We'll try. We'll try. Crash and burn on the next album then.
But talking about the new album then, Rise to Power, for those that are eager to hear the new album, how would you say it compares to the end? And do you think that you are the happiest that you've been in, this is the happiest that you've been in your time with Memoriam?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I feel that each album we do, there's a slight progression. We always, we're kind of developing. We're always developing, which is great. To be able to be doing this 30 odd plus years into our career and still be in a band that's progressive and creative in its style and its context is incredible. So yeah, the new album very much is a step forward from what we created with the last album. I think you see a lot of a more matured approach to what we do. I think we've taken on board all the different things that work for us. The formulas for success are all in place now. So we're just building on that, So last album was strong, very strong. This album builds on the success of that. And I think, the main things that you can take away from this album is that, it maintains that diversity of sounds that's on there. So we're not afraid to experiment and try out new things. So you'll hear different tones and textures on this album you probably haven't kind of explored before, which is exciting.
So who is it that's bringing the maturity to the band then? Because it's certainly not Scott. Is it yourself that's bringing the maturity?
I think that it can be attributed to a number of factors, really. But the first of all, I'd like to think that that the input of talking of Scott, we'll talk about him. I shall blow some smoke. His arse, big enough. Is the fact that he's definitely maturing and his confidence in his ability is growing as well. Which is great to see. From where we were when we first started to where we are now. He's developed as the riff master general, and his creative output is incredible. He's like a riff monster. You'll see, if you follow Scott on social media or whatever, you'll see every night. He just lives for writing music. That's all that he does. He'll kind of fix cars in the daytime, maybe the evenings, the weekends. But then he spends every night in the studio writing music. So he's got a massive creative output, and that's really the driving force behind us moving forward at the pace that we do. Is his creative output is the thing that drives us, So there's other aspects and elements which I think have enhanced this new album to take it to another level. I think one of those points to make is the input of Spike. I don't think that can go unmentioned. With the last album, he joined us pretty close to when we were recording it. He was only in the band about 6 to 8 weeks before we actually went into the studio for the last album. So he didn't have much time to kind of like maybe put his blueprint, his stamp on the album, which he did successfully. Specifically towards the end, last closing track in particular on to the end, As My Heart Grows Cold, stands out for me because you see some little Neil Peart moments in there, and Spike kind of like breaking out into and showing his ability and what it could potentially be. And this really comes to the front on this album. So the drums on this album are really what sets it apart, I think. Spectacularly.
I love talking to vocalists because all I need to do is say hello, and then you talk for half an hour, and that's the interview over.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to rein it in. I used to just basically, I start an interview, someone asks me a question, talk for an hour, and preempt all their questions, answer all their questions before they
bloody have
them.
Done. But I think it's quite.
I'm getting better. I'm actually starting to try and listen to what people say now, which is good. So there you go.
Well, you've got selective ear, and I'll give you that. But just talking about Scott, though, I think it's quite important that you do say that, because obviously he writes all the riffs at Riff Central and things, but the diversity of his other projects as well, like As the World Dies and H-Drive project, they're not. There are touches of it here and there in Memoriam, and I welcome them, because I like all the projects that you're involved with them. So I welcome them in Memoriam, and I think it offers something a wee bit different rather than just generic melodic death metal.
Absolutely. What he brings to the game is that diversity in his approach. And when he's writing, he has a specific, that's for this project in mind. But, obviously everything overlaps. He's kind of like the styles blend and kind of merge into the other, other projects that he does. So yeah, he's incredibly busy. As the World Dies, he's currently writing the second album for them. Currently writing the follow-up to Syntax 01 for H-Drive project, which is nearly complete. But also,
by the way, I love the Dreamer.
Yeah, they're two. For me, that ability to kind of have some different kind of creative output as well. That kind of came from the kind of COVID shutdown where we had not a lot to do. So that's where it kind of like came from. And it's an opportunity for me Scott to explore a different kind of like more electronic style, and for me as well, the lyrics in there are quite emotional. They're kind of like quite personally related to my own experiences that I've been through COVID as well. So it's a great outlet for us to do something a little bit different, and we're really just enjoying doing what we're doing. It's I think the question you did actually say, are you at a point where you're enjoying what you're doing? And I'd say, absolutely affirm that statement massively. It's at this point
did you think that in the mid-80s, looking forward to 2023, that you'd still be doing this stuff? And I just see you carrying on to for another 20 years. This is you collecting your pension and you're still doing this.
Absolutely. Never. If you sat me down, 21-year-old, start when I first started out doing this, I'm 56 now.
Yeah.
He said to me, "Well, what do you think you'll be doing this when you're in 50s?" I'll have just laughed in your face. There's no way you can actually comprehend that longevity of the career that I've managed to achieve. I've had some time out doing my own thing as well. I think that's what's prolonged it as well, maybe because I had that time away and not doing it, and I had that kind of sense of loss and not doing it. So I appreciate it more now than ever, really, because we enjoy it for what it is. I think back in the day, you were just wrapped up in what you were doing and didn't really think about what it was all about. But now, 20, 30 years down the line, we just generally, we can see that journey of what we've done and what we've taken to get to this point, what we are, and we're very, we feel very privileged and very honoured to be able to do that at this point in our lives. And it's really only down to people such as yourselves, that support us, and the labels and the people, well, more importantly, the people out there that are listening to this show and buying the records and supporting us and coming to gigs. Without that support, we won't be able to do it. And so we're very appreciative of that. And, I think that comes across in our live shows. We do kind of engage quite well with the audience and our friends and family and fans, whatever you want to call themselves. I think that's really key, really. It's that kind of like that kind of appreciative and without being patronising. It's a genuine joy to be able to do what we do, So it's great. We have a great time. It is the we are reaching the autumn of our lives, and we seem to be having the best time.
But winter's the best season, though.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've still got more to come. So much so that we talk about Scott writing. He's doing As the World Dies album 2. He's doing H-Drive project, but we've already got Memoriam album number 6 nearly complete as well.
I remember seeing that on social media and posting that as well. Is this album 6 or 7?
We went to Riff Central last week. Me and Frank did go down, and we waded through the $1 Million Riff vault and selected out 10 or so tracks, which kind of like, you know, the basis of 10 tracks, and now he's polishing them, and they are dropping on a regular basis into our Dropbox. And yeah, so we're ready to roll in preparation for album number 6, and album number 5, Rise to Power, is out yet.
It certainly is.
So we're in a very strong position.
Good stuff. But that's enough about Scott. We've talked enough about him. That's half the interview gone.
Yeah, that's enough about him. Yeah.
But what I liked, what you guys have done, you've released videos for you and Scott tell us the concept about each song in the album. So I think we'll kind of leave that there. But what I would like to know is what type of vocalist you are, in the sense that do you constantly write lyrics for songs, or do you wait for Scott to send you some riffs before you write them?
Yeah, I'm always been a. It's all about the riff, really. It's the feel and the tones and textures to a song that Scott writes, or guitarist writes, that kind of like spark off those ideas and those the synapses in your brain, and kind of like even so, you know, for example, say we were over at Riff Central writing, getting the riffs together and the song structure together for album number 6, and even at that point, in that very early stage, at the embryonic stages, I could feel, you know, the timing structures to go along with the riffs, and that was firing off ideas in my mind of song titles or lyrical lines to go. So I was making notes as we were kind of in that process, and that's really what drives me. It always has, you know, it's always been about the riff and the feel that creates within my, you know, myself, you know. I've never been one to write a tome of lyrics and then I go, okay, we'll fit that into a song. There are certain lyrics that I take. In fact, every Memoriam album features a verse from the poem For the Fallen from Lawrence Binion. There are about 7 verses in that poem.
Does that mean there's only going to be 7 albums and that's it?
Well, I'm gonna have to find another poem. I've used them all up. There's one verse left to use. So every album, I kind of get that pre-written bit of lyrics into one of the songs, but I have to hear the actual songs first. Yeah, to get the structures and the timings in order to make it fit. So that's the way it's always worked for me, you know. But
are you also the type of guy that? So does that mean that you're lazy for 6 months of the year and then you get like?
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely. Sit on my ass doing absolutely sod bugger all for 6 months, and then it's panic at the last minute. But I mean, that's one of the joys of one thing we've learned. You know, one thing we've learned from having the whole impact of COVID, when we had to kind of sit back a bit and relax, and we weren't, because our first 3 albums we did bang, 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 every year, 1 year every year for the first 3 years. Then COVID came along, and we had a bit of an enforced kind of like we couldn't meet up, we couldn't go to the studio, so we had the next one took 18 months, an extra 6 months to come out, and that extra 6 months really worked well, you know, because it gave me as a vocalist and a lyricist the opportunity to refine the vocals and hone them. So, you know, that extra 6 months gave me the ability to rewrite the lyrics that I weren't particularly thought weren't strong enough, or were not, you know, didn't really fit that well. It gave me the chance to go to Riff Central to demo them, you know. So for the last album, To the End, was the first time in my whole career that I've actually been to the studio and pre-recorded and demoed the actual lyrics before I've been into the studio, which is great. It puts me in a really, really strong position when I go into the studio, because I know what the words are going to be. I don't have to think about, oh, they've got to change. Because sometimes you go in the studio, you've got an idea in your head, it really works really well in your head. You go to record it, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. That Rob Halford voice just does not fit. It's in my head. It's going to work like that. This Jazz Coleman attempt at doing something, I just can't do it. So it gives you the demoing process, gives me the opportunity to try out and test ideas, make sure that it works, and the lyrics are right, and the structure of the song is good. So when I go in the studio now, and the rest of the band get to hear the lyrics before they go in, so they can adopt and change the style, and Spike can accentuate some of the words by his drum patterns. So all in all, it works. It works really well. And so when I go to record, I feel a lot more confident, because I don't have to worry about these other issues of structure and timing and words. I can purely concentrate 100% on just the delivery. And I think on the last album and this new album, that has been a blueprint that we've used that works. And I think it shows. I think it really shows really a lot. You know, that it's on the last two albums, I just purely spent the time in the studio delivering, concentrate on the delivery of the vocals, which has enhanced the albums a lot. So that's my personal input alongside everyone else. And yeah, Frank just does what he does, which he plays the bass very well.
He does. He
does. So we all contribute in our own different ways.
Yeah, I was going to, Christ, you've answered about 20 of my next bloody questions. But
fast forward.
But when you and Scott get together at Riff Central, then is it sometimes difficult for Scott to portray how he wants you to sing them, or does Scott just give you complete freedom because he knows that you'll nail it first time?
Yeah, I mean, Scott very rarely tells me what he wants to get out of it, because he knows I've been doing this for a long time. He knows that I've got a set way of doing things, and I know how to achieve the best out of what he delivers. Occasionally, he's got a specific idea that he'd like me to try and deliver. A good example of that is the end section of Rise to Power. It's got this crazy offbeat timing, which I could not follow for the life of me, and it's going to be a nightmare when we play it live. I won't be able to do it.
Just have a tape on the background.
Absolutely. So he had a specific idea of how he wanted me to deliver the kind of like the chant, the kind of rise to power, and so he kind of like we worked. Well, he had to work through that quite a lot to make it work, and that again, in the demoing process, it really helped and worked well for that. So,
cool.
So yeah, but yeah, generally speaking, I know what I'm doing, and a plays guitar leads me to do the what I do best, which is rhythmical shouting and writing.
Yeah, but you mentioned a poem there, but also on the subjects of your lyrics. Do you always have like a piece of paper and a pen on you, and you write down something that you saw on the street that day, or do you read like if you're going to choose a chosen subject and you read like 5-6 books on that subject, or do you watch a hell of a lot of documentaries? How do you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the past, I used to read a lot, and then 10 years ago, I had children. I haven't read a book since. I just don't have the time or energy to do that. It just doesn't fit into my schedule. So that my prior was doing a lot already. But now I think a lot of my the lyrics are drawn directly from documentaries that I watch on television. And there's a wide source of those, or on social media. There's a lot of videos out there which I draw. A specific example of that would be the opening track to the album Rise to Power. Never forget 6 Million Dead. That was very much drawn from around this time last year. I wrote that around the time of the Holocaust Memorial, which is around the 23rd of January every year. And so there was a lot of first-hand accounts and documentaries, or as there is now as well, on television, and watching those was what really lyrically inspired me with the lyrical contents. Using those quotes direct from from their mouths of people that experienced it, was the thing that kind of like inspired me to write those. So I kind of watch a lot of documentaries, watch a lot of read a lot of news feeds, social media feeds, but reading books. It was my primary source back in the day.
Now you're reading books like the Gruffalo and stuff like that to the kids.
Exactly. It's very, very hard to get the Gruffalo into death metal.
It is. But talking of videos, then you released All Is Lost and Total War. So is that going to be the end of the video cycle for the album, or do you have another couple of video releases to coincide with the album? And Nick, in fact,
I think there's one more planned. Yeah, I think generally speaking, the label like to, because there's only 8 on the album. I think the album. I think there's the label are going to release another one around about about the release date of the album. There's going to be another one that's going to be released as a video, as a kind of like a lyric video. To finalize it all off. So but it's been great. The whole artistic journey of doing videos. We've always done like lyric videos. That's been the standard kind of like cheap, effective way of promoting the band is through lyric videos. But this time round, we pushed the boat out, and we had a budget. We spent our budget on actually creating a full-length feature video, which was incredible experience. I've never done that before. It's in the whole career, 30 odd plus years, I've never been on a budgeted 2-day trip down to a studio in London with actors and a script and a director telling you what to do.
You didn't like that?
It was incredible. I enjoyed it. Enjoyed it in a weird kind of way. It was almost like kind of singing in your bedroom with a hairbrush. That was quite weird. With the camera, playing to the camera. But yeah, it was a great experience. It's something a first, something that managed to achieve after doing it for such a long time. To still be having this experience of doing these one-off first-hand experiences is great. It makes it what it is. Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, that's about as far as my musical career's gone, like singing into a hairbrush, or I'm probably the best air guitarist you're ever likely to meet. But one day, I'm coming up for 50 this year. I've still got time.
You never know. It could be the start. It could be the start of your career at this point. This is it.
That's it.
Inspiration.
That's it. What a way to start. What a way to start, man. But talking of the visual side of the album, when you completed the trilogy of what you termed as the Death Cycle, and you also signed to a new label in Reaper Entertainment, and now that your character in the album cover is now alive, was there ever discussions of changing from Dan Seagrave for the album covers?
I don't think we could. I think that's it. When we first sat down and we had our little kind of like meeting prior to starting the band, we all sat down and thought, well, what do you want to achieve? From the band, and we all come up with different ideas about where we'd like to play or what we want to do. And what Scott's thing that he wanted was, he said, well, I'd like to get Dan Seagrave to do an album cover, and here we are, 5 albums in, 5 Dan Seagrave covers. And for us, we were trying to create that that kind of old school death metal feel, that imagery, which is equally as important as the music. So I've always come from that kind of background where it's all been about vinyl product, big,
absolutely
that tangible kind of like visual aspects of what you do. And Dan and his detail, he does it so well. I think that at this point, it's part of our formula that works. We got Dan doing the covers. We've got Russell and his studio, down at Parlour Studios, doing his production work and engineering and mastering, and that's all these are part of the formulas that work for us. We are people of we like to, when you find something that works, that becomes the norm for us. So I don't think we'd ever be able to change artists now. Dan's pretty much involved. He's almost like a silent fifth, sixth member of the band in many respects. So he's integral to the actual final product that we create. So we've got him lined up for album number 6 already. It's all good.
Do you know what? I've interviewed Dan, and I spoke to him for like an hour and a half, and he's done like short films and stuff like that. His paintings are absolutely outstanding. He's just untouchable. And it was an absolute pleasure to talk to.
The level of detail, it's incredible, and to be part of that kind of like creative process with him, when you've got like an idea in your mind what you'd like the album to look like, and you kind of like you fire him a very rough brief of what you want to anticipate it to look like, and maybe an album title, and maybe a color scheme, and then he comes back with all these different ideas that he kind of comes back with, and I think on this one in particular. That one,
yes,
I think he's knocked it out of the park. It really, really, really works well. Specifically, because it's all about rising to power, and
that'll be a hell of a poster. Mm-hmm.
It's like a new king rising to power, which is kind of fairly relevant to the current affairs here in the UK.
Yeah.
So unintentionally, that's the way it's expand out. But it's incredible to work with him. He's absolute genius.
Absolutely. So thank you very much for that, Karl. Thank you. But again, I don't know whether I've sent you my bloody questions beforehand because you keep answering them before I ask them. But since we are going to talk about Parlour Studios, so since Requiem, you've been recording albums at Parlour Studios. So you use the exact same word. Is this now a formula and sound that you're settled with, and you don't see that changing? Or if you were given a blank check, is there another studio that you would love to record in?
No, I mean, working with Russ is sheer pleasure. Absolutely, it's an absolute joy. I don't know if you've ever met Russ Russell, but he is he's absolutely a beautiful man. You know, and the key to success in a studio is having fun and enjoying what you're doing. You know, and the humour that he brings to the recording process really kind of, from my perspective as a vocalist, I need to be really relaxed and feel really confident to build my confidence in what I'm doing, and he just does that. You know, we have a good laugh while we're doing it. We don't take things too seriously, but you know, ultimately he's there pressing the buttons when you don't expect him to. You know, when you're just messing around and kind of like just trying out something. You know, oh, did that work? You're like, yeah, it really works well, and he's recorded it already. So you know, he really knows what he's doing. We've got total confidence in faith in his ability, and that is really the key thing to it. In fact, it makes us feel so relaxed in that environment.
So how many occasions did you have to record the vocals at Parlour Studios then for yourself, and how difficult did you find that in your vocal cords? Like, was it just an intense 2 days, for example, and you found it really harsh?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the drums, bass, guitar, main guitars go down first, and I go down and I do my vocals. Usually I do it over a period of maybe 2 or 3 weekends. You know, maybe kind of like a sporadic, because it is quite intensive, because it's a lot of, you know, repeating and a lot of power in a very short space of time. But generally speaking, I can really get maybe 2 songs a day. You know, if that means we start say midday and we finish about 6 or 7 at night. You know, usually 2 songs a day, but usually after 2 days or 3 days at the most, it's kind of like it starts to kind of like fade a little bit. So it's good to give it a rest. So generally speaking, I'll go down on a Friday evening, do 1, then spend Saturday and Sunday doing maybe another 2 or 3, and then go away, and then go back the following weekend. So it kind of fits in with my my normal everyday life schedule, you know, my kids, my job and things like that, so I can fit it in around that schedule, and it's good. You know, it kind of gives you that space to kind of like let my throat recover, and then go back the following weekend to finish it off. So again, it's a routine, it's a schedule, and it's a formula that works really well for me. And I think each musician has their own way of doing things, and that's the way it works really well for me. So
because although COVID is like near enough over, and about a year and a half and things like that, but for about 12 months, 18 months, you couldn't get into the studio, you couldn't rehearse or anything like that. How did you keep your vocals in check? Like, I don't know whether you sing in the shower or you sing in the car to the way to work or something.
yeah. Well, I work from home, so it didn't really affect me. I just smoked more and drank more whiskey. Basically, that was.
I knew that was going to come.
That's the best way to do it, really. I'm not a one for rehearsing. It just is what it is. It comes out. It only comes out when the music's there. You know what I mean? Some people, say when I'm out and about having a drink, say, "Oh, come on, do your death metal voice, Karl." I won't. I'm not a performing monkey. It has to come out. It doesn't come out spontaneously. It has to come out with the alignment of the music and the feel at the time. You know what I mean? So it's very much. And plus, I don't do it unless I'm being paid.
Yeah, cool. cool. Unfortunately, I already had my 10-minute warning, so I've got like 17 questions to ask you still. So
10-minute warning. Get on with it, Fleming.
Yeah. So having known you guys for some time on social media, things seem to be now very settled on the band members front. So with Spike being the drummer now, how has he been brought into the fold? He's been in the fold for a few years, but I was just wondering if he brought a contribution to this album as well. Like, did he bring riff ideas or anything like that, or like did he bring ideas?
Yeah, massively. I mean, that's the one thing we write the tracks at Riff Central using different programs. The drum program that Scott uses is called Superior Drummer. So you get kind of fire that into our Dropbox, so we get a rough idea of the general structure of the song. But then it's just down to me to put the lyrics to, and obviously for Spike to interpret those patterns the best way that he can do them. And he's a consummate professional with quite a wide-ranging styles and abilities that he brings to what he does. And so we give him full rein. And I say on this album in particular, he's had a year to do that as well. Last album he only had about 6 weeks to get it all in place, but this album he's had full rein. So his input into this new album is significant. And I think you can tell that. I think
it must be a personal highlight for you as well, because having a couple of guys from Sacrilege, which I think was the band that got you into music in the first place, having them in the band must be a joy for you as well.
What I need to do is get Tam in and sack myself. Then it'll be perfect. That'd be perfect then. But that's it. I mean, not just Sacrilege. Spike has played with Killing Joke, which is my favourite band on the planet. And to have him kind of like do, and he brings some of that Killing Joke kind of tribal structure. One of the things we haven't explored yet with Spike is the D beats, and Spike is pretty much a D beat king. He's really good at it. And so I think we're going to see a lot of that emerging on album number 6. So there's lots more we can do. There's lots more of tones and textures we can explore and do. And we've got an open blank canvas to do that on. So album number 6 will be on its way very soon.
Cool. Well, I tell you what, I'll make it the last 2 questions then. Thanks for that, Karl. But you've also got fellow Moshville radio presenter Sherry Busceno of Red Death Media looking after some of your internal PR as well. So how's it been like working with her, and does she annoy you as much as she does me?
Absolutely. Look, Sherry is an absolute angel, and she basically dug us out of a big hole. Because I used to be admin control on a Facebook page, and after one night, after drinking way too much whiskey, I was dabbling around on Facebook and managed to delete everyone's admin control to it. Everyone's.
Wow.
So we lost control of our Facebook page, which had something like 35,000 followers at that point in time.
Well, you called a few different things in Karl that night.
I am no longer admin control of our Facebook site. I don't want that responsibility. It did take about 3 months to get it back, but it was like a lot of it is down to the work that Sherry put into doing the investigation work to find out who had the control and could give it us back. But yeah, her work rate that she puts in, and I think enthusiasm and love of what she does is incredible. She's a beautiful human being, and we're very, very proud to have her as part of our team.
She's a really nice person, and we met her at Rabbit Fest last year, and it didn't take her a lot of convincing to get her on the radio station either. So you guys are getting promoted left, right, and centre on this radio station.
Her first show last week. Yeah, it's great. Yeah. It's great to hear her, full flow, doing what she does best, and I mean, her enthusiasm. For what she does, and she doesn't get paid for doing it. She just really loves and is passionate about what she does, and you can't fault that. She's great.
That's it. Just a last question for you then. This is where I normally talk about the instruments that the band that they played on the album. But with you being the vocalist then, have you went through a range of microphones before you've decided on the sound of this microphone, this is the one I want, or you just give me an SM58 and I'll fucking sing into it?
Yeah, that's me. Give me an SM58 and I will shout rhythmically.
Because I noticed it was different on the video. It was a different microphone in the video.
Right. Okay. Yeah. There's a story about that video. That microphone on that video. Yeah. When I play live, it's an SM58 all the way down the line. Apart from when we play with Rod Sherrod, who is our in-house, when we use him, when we can afford him, our sound engineer, and he uses Audix mics, so I use those with him. But generally speaking, SM58 all the way down the line. However, when I'm in the studio, it's down to the engineer or the recording, Chris Russell, what we use. Now I've got 3 minutes. I can say this story. That's great. In the video, the microphone I was using was a plastic kind of like replica of a 50s style.
Was the budget that tight?
Which it had an LED in it, so the light was reflecting through the grill as part of the effect.
I see.
However, it broke as soon as I held it. It fell apart in my hands. So majority of that video, you'll see me trying to hold this piece of plastic together that was kind of clipped on falling apart every time. So we had to retake every 30 seconds because this stupid bit of plastic.
I was just wondering if you thought to yourself, I've been in this business for 35 years and this is what it's came down to, holding a plastic.
This is what it came down to. It's a piece of plastic that breaks in my hand. That's about right. It's a bit like Chappao, but it's not China.
Very true. Very true. Listen, Karl, we've got a couple of minutes left, but I want to say goodbye to you properly after we record this. So I just have to thank you very much for your time here. It's been an absolute pleasure, and it's a personal highlight for myself. I didn't think you would want to talk to a wee numpty from East Kilbride in Glasgow, but here we are, 45 minutes later. Thank you very much for your time, sir.
We do like Scotland. I'm a bit of a connoisseur of the old single malt myself, so I've got also crap out.
Well,
in your favour later on.
There's a festival in April in Birmingham, and me and my colleague Shells of Moshville Times are talking very seriously about coming down to see that, especially since As the World Dies and Memoriam are playing on a Saturday.
The Festival for Music Noise Destruction.
That's the one.
It is a festival that we are going to be playing over Easter. It is our T-shirt man, Mr. Adam Ward, is the promoter of that. He's a lovely man as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you could get a chance to come down to that would be great to see you.
Brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. I'll let you get the first round in. So
yeah, it'll be cheap.
A shandy. Thank you very much for your time, Karl. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure talking to you, Ricky. All the best.
Cheers.
And thank you for everyone for listening tonight or today or wherever it is.
Thank you.